games, brains, and headbanging life here with another episode of the Flashback series, and we are flashing back to the role-playing classic that is Breath of Fire 3. For many people, this is where they first became aware of what Breath of Fire was. Certainly for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Breath of Fire 3, as I said, role-playing game, developed and published by Capcom for the PlayStation console as part of the Breath of Fire series. Initially released in Japan on September 11th, 1997. Later released in North America and Europe in 1998. It was the first game in the series to feature three-dimensional graphics and have voice acting. The story takes place in a fantasy world where humans live alongside anthropomorphic creatures and centers on the story of Ryu, the last of the brood, a race of people who can transform into powerful dragons. As he searches the world to uncover the mystery of his people and reunite with his surrogate family, Ryu's journey takes him into adulthood, where he is joined by a number of other characters who aid him in his quest. Breath of Fire 3 doesn't feature a major villain in its story, instead only having minor ones for some of the game's segments. Things we like, things we don't like, favourite scenes and bits of music, favourite moments, the usual. You should know this by now. Things we like then, Damon.
Oh, I absolutely love this game. You know,
Indeed, fun memories.
Yeah, this is one of the games. I mean, I know. Well, I'm going to say obviously you shouldn't compare it to something like Final Fantasy, but this game here always reminded me of like it's a Final Fantasy sort of style, but more colourful.
Yeah.
It was a very colourful game. It was a very beautiful game, and I love the way it controlled and moved. And yeah, I mean,
yeah, 100% agree. Lovely design, lovely graphics. We played Breath of Fire 3 probably well after playing Final Fantasy 7, 8, and maybe even 9. So came to Breath of Fire 3 quite late when it came to those games. And Breath of Fire 3, while obviously was RPG, was obviously different as well. Felt very old school, like Grandia and stuff like that. But very attractive eyes. When I think of Breath of Fire, I think of its colours, its vibrancy, you know? So I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, definitely.
An obvious one that I'm sure you'll agree with as well is that we are both fans of turn-based RPG combat. It is how I like my RPGs to be. It's why I'm not a fan of a lot of modern RPGs, even though there are some great ones like the Tales of Vesperia and stuff like that. But I love turn-based combat, traditional RPGs, which is Breath of Fire.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with that. I mean, the whole turn-based thing, it just makes them more fun and more enjoyable, you know, just to be able to do different magics and obviously healings and fighting, you know. It's a game where there's so many different points which I enjoyed in the game. I mean, there's so many different areas which I loved, and I found the story was actually quite fascinating. You know, because I mean, like you said in the intro, there isn't it's not a main bad guy. There's not a main boss. There's all like different side bosses and side quests you can do throughout the game, which is quite unique. I would have thought actually, because normally you have like this is your main boss. This is what you got to do. You know.
I saw a joke the other day that sums up RPGs, and this doesn't apply to Breath of Fire 3 because it doesn't do this, so to speak. But RPG is like this, right? Your first mission, go make a sandwich. Your last mission, destroy God. Like that's how RPGs go. It starts off with the most basic shit, and by the end, you've got to destroy a fucking god, basically. That is Final Fantasy 7. That's Final Fantasy 9.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you start 7 as jump off a train as a soldier, and then you end up down a big crater fighting some crazy geezer.
God, you're fighting a god, you know. But I do agree. I do really like Breath of Fire 3's story. It's very, it's more open, I think, than perhaps here's a beginning and here's an obvious end. And that makes it stand out a little bit more, I think. Yeah. Any more?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can say loads, but I mean, I love the big. Obviously, I mean, I know most RPG games have the big open map world, yeah. But Breath of Fire 3, it brings you out straight away. Literally straight away, you're into the big open world, and you can go pretty much. I mean, obviously, once you get further along the game, you can go everywhere.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that there's certain areas we can go fishing, which although it was difficult, but it was fun. It was just really interesting, you know.
It is. Okay. Any more?
Yeah. I got two more, which again I could put them in my favourite points.
Oh, if they're favourite points, then save them. Save them
Yeah,
for that,
I'll say yeah.
Then we'll move on to things we don't like. I've got a couple for this, funny enough. First things first, really surprising, right? For RPG games. I don't like Breath of Fire 3 soundtrack. The overtly jazzy soundtrack. When I've tried to listen to it like as a soundtrack, I find I can't get on with it and I end up turning it off.
So I'm trying to listen to my head now, but I can't actually. The fact that I can't actually remember the music
Says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. I can't actually think of it. I mean, I could think of Final Fantasy.
I was going to say,
right now, but
you could hum a Final Fantasy song right now. Probably 10 off the top of your head, easily.
Easy, yeah.
Fire 3-1. No,
I can't.
absolutely. My next one. Right. We praised the idea of not having a main villain, but ultimately, the lack of having that kind of a goal to defeat by the end of the game, I feel makes the latter part feel a little flat. The whole RPG element is, as we joked, make a sandwich, destroy God. That's what you're aiming for. And there isn't something like that in Breath of Fire 3 in the traditional sense, which I don't think helps the latter portion of the game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to have a goal to aim for. So, I mean, one of my dislikes out of the main characters, obviously you got Rio, Ray, and Tipu.
Yep.
Really don't like Tipu. He's such an annoying little. He's so flipping annoying. He's cocky. He's a rude. I mean, I'm guessing he's portrayed as a kid, as quite young. I mean, they're all quite young.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ray's obviously the eldest of the group, but he's just such a rude little shit, basically.
Harsh. Right, here's one I hate, or sorry, I dislike, right? Because I only found out how to fix it when I was Googling it 2 days ago. Do you remember Breath of Fire 3 having a system where if you died or got knocked out in battle, you would suffer permanent HP loss?
Yeah.
As a youngster, not understanding this game, that happened so much near the end game where it felt like I'd been set back. I never went any further because of that. Do you know how to fix that?
I didn't know it was a bug.
It's not a bug. It's part of the game. So it's part of the game system. But basically, if you suffer that, it's so simple, it's almost embarrassing. Go sleep at an inn. That's it. So I hate the fact that that even exists. Why on earth would you do a thing, right, where even confuse a person by going, well, you're going to have a permanent HP drop, so you're going to lose 100 overall hit points, HP points, but to fix it, you've got to go sleep at an inn and not tell someone that. I found that very frustrating.
That might explain why near the end of the game it was so bloody hard.
Yeah, maybe. Yep.
My last dislike was I found some of the sort of like I don't know what you call them, like the caves were very frustrating, and some of the puzzles were quite. I mean, there's one specific one which I can remember now. It's like you fall into a room and there's all these little holes in the ground, and they're like little lights, and you've got to hit the correct one or two.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. It might have been in what's the girl's name? The princess Win. It was in her town, and inside like her castle. But that area there, I found that so frustrating.
You're not wrong. When I think back to those moments, I automatically cringe. It's like, oh, fuck yeah.
Nina,
good shit.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Done. Well, my last one, and it's very simple. It's a personal thing. I have never completed this game. Have you?
No. I've played it on so many different. I played it on a PS1. I've got it on the PSP, but I've never actually completed it. You know, but then saying I've never completed it, but then I've always enjoyed it when playing it.
I would argue the reason why I've never completed it these days is that I'm not willing to put the time that you need to put into an RPG. I reckon I probably could, but I just never really get around to doing it. Favorite moments, scenes, bits of music. Then you had some.
Yeah, I've got two. I mean, and in specific areas. So obviously, the first one is when obviously the guy in the woods, he sends you up to do your mission.
Yeah.
So he to kill the big lion creature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then you find out that the creature is not actually a monster. It's actually trying to get food for his baby, and his baby died.
Well done, yeah.
it's quite sad. 'Cause it's like, it's like wow, the baby actually died, and then when you kill it, it jumps in the way to block to try and block the cave to protect this child. Obviously, the baby had already died. It's a really cool scene.
Awesome stuff, Damon. That's brilliant.
Yeah. And then my other one is it's in the mansion. You spend a lot of time in the mansion, and is where you're fighting all the ghosts of the rich guy who's taxing the town.
Yeah.
And again, I thought it was pretty cool because like you're fighting all his ancestors, and you find out that the guy is alive. What's his name? He's the mayor something, but he's actually a coward, and all his ancestors are the ones who are controlling it all.
Look at that. I love the fact that you pull that too. Very, like, you've triggered, I'd forgotten these, but you've triggered these memories in my head, man. And I can picture these scenes. Fantastic, man. That's the joy of these flashbacks, these
definitely
nostalgia trips, man, so to speak. I only had one, and it was very simply, and we kind of touched upon it in the love more than anything else anyway, which is that it's turn-based combat. Give me turn-based combat every single day, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
There you go. There's a flashback of Breath of Fire 3. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/GBHBL, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?